tearing through the haze. Kids lost screaming in the system's maze. Lies unfold behind paper-thin walls. Stealing hope, ripping dreams, all the calls. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. System cracks, red tape wins tight, but the spirit won't break, even in the night. From the ashes, the cry gonna rise up strong. With every heartbeat, it fuels the song. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Oh!
Hey look, this for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on, but now it's war, this gunning foe, CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with guns. honor, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's off of Davis popping, and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruined good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people, corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. It's Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait.
Good evening. Welcome to a special edition of Gunning for CPS on Election Day. I'm your host, Gunner. We got a few of our things took and cleaned up here as far as now I can interact with you guys, so on and so forth. But we've got some breaking news for you guys to get a little bit better understanding of this government shutdown. Took us some time to dig around, so on and so forth. But I want to be able to share this clip with you guys that has not been made very public. Matter of fact, it's been up and down all day. And I want you guys to take, and we're going to open the show here with why the government shut down and what the true reason for the shutdown is. And hopefully you guys are following us both on YouTube, on the Gunning for CPS channel. As you'll notice, this is, oh, well, wait a minute. Let's put this stuff up here real quick before we start with the video, just so you know that there's something different. As you'll notice up in the left-hand side of the screen, hopefully, where's it at? Okay. We're not getting, okay, right-hand side of the screen. This is a special report. It took us some time to do some digging, confirm a lot of different things, and when things were ending, when they were not, digging through a lot of bills, so on and so forth. So if you want to have some understanding of what's going on and why this shutdown and what the real reason behind the shutdown is once again, it's about the money and who's getting in, what's not. Yes, there's been a lot of talk of the immigration. Elections are going on. Just because you see elections happening, understand there can be filings, so on and so forth, afterwards to overturn those elections for their legitimacy. So you understand the election process, whether the states follow these things or not, they still have to follow constitutional law and election laws as set forth. In other words, a state cannot do something independently. They can actually even take them to federal court to overturn things. As you'll see, there's been many rulings that SCOTUS has overturned in favor of the sitting president to obtain the objective. But the real reason behind this thing with the shutdown is nothing more than a control ploy of once again, as you'll see, the NGOs, everything else are being cut off. They're going after the money with this shutdown, and they're trying to do a ploy to deceive the American people and to make it think about it's something else that they're not getting anyway. But I want you, once again, let's watch this video together. Let's turn around and let's get educated together. But yes, that 100%, every bit of this in this particular video is 100% true.
What you're being told, that's all I got to say. The headlines say it's about healthcare and rising premiums. You've heard it all, right? And then Democrats are saying that Trump wants to raise the cost of Obamacare. Well, it's not that he wants to. That's not the full picture. Here's what's actually going on. So when Obamacare, which, as you know, is the Affordable Care Act, first came in, it made health insurance mandatory. But after COVID, President Biden signed new legislation that temporarily expanded subsidies, basically tax credits, to make health insurance cheaper for Americans. Now, these weren't just discounts. Now, here's how it worked. It's pretty scary to think about it. The Department of the Treasury sent the difference in cash directly to the insurance companies. So if your premium was, let's say, $600 a month, and the new plan lowered it to $400, the government literally paid the $200 difference straight to your insurer. That's billions of tax dollars going out every single month directly to private insurance companies. Those enhanced subsidies expire on the 31st of January or 31st of December 2025. And starting in January, that money stops. And when it stops, premiums go back up fast. Millions of Americans will suddenly see their costs go up by 20 or 30% or more. So we got to do something. So why is Washington gridlocked? Well, because those subsidies aren't just helping you. They're a cash pipeline for the insurance industry. And there it is. It's also free money for illegals' health insurance. Boom, there it was. And when that pipeline closes, the insurance companies lose billions of free money. That's why the Democrats are filibustering and refusing to move forward. They're not doing it for you. They're doing it for the companies funding their re-election campaigns and the illegals who they hope will vote for them. Insurance companies, pharmaceutical giants, corporate donors, the groups that pump millions into campaign coffers, every cycle is who we're talking about. They're telling the politicians, you either extend this program or we're going to fund your opponent next election. And that's exactly what's happening. The Democrats are shuffling. So the government stays shut down. The American people get held hostage, and the money keeps flowing. Not to you.
Guys, there it is. It's about money. It's about money that never passed through our hands as a reimbursement that went directly to big pharma, that went directly to insurance companies and covered, once again, you heard what it covered. That not just for American citizens, but everything to do with that, with those on Medicare, Medicaid, those type of programs, making it mandatory. If you didn't have, then the state or the federal government would come in and pay those if you couldn't. They're cutting off the money, people. They're making sure that they do not have the funds to proceed forward and keep robbing the American people and the federal government, and make it to where it lands what's supposed to land on the responsibility of the individuals is not the responsibility of the government or all the people to share in that. It's an individual responsibility, which would require them, if they had that and no subsidies, to drop that because it's become competitive. Now, it's also going to say, hey, it's unobtainable and there's no help. What has to happen? Then having insurance is not mandatory. But once again, this goes hand in hand with the RFK push of these big pharma companies and everything else pushing poisons and medicines, as we are the most over-medicated country in the world, as has been publicized by RFK in several different engagements with the American people. We don't need this stuff. It's poisoning us. Clean up our food. It's going to clean up our health. It's basically what it is. Less medications, better eating, better activity. This is the change of a lot of things. And this is what they're not wanting to tell you, because they want you dependent on the government and on these pharmaceuticals and these mind-altering drugs. And once again, you're going to have a lot of people, once again, once this ends, you're going to see a lot of people go through withdrawals. Now, the second part of it is that they're heading this off at the pass with ICE coming in and everything else, and seeing the largest impact in American history since we've done this war on drugs with fentanyl, cocaine, so on and so forth, opioids and pill mills and everything else. Cleaning this up so fast, doing a better impact job than has ever happened in American history by closing that off too. In other words, you're getting rid of people that have become dependent on the system and those medications, that now those street drugs are going away too, to force people to clean up, which they should have never been on. They're cutting off the dependency. And you're going to see a lot of changes in this country, especially with elections, and a lot of that's going to come up. Guys, there's just a lot of things out there. And one of the other things we predicted too, now, once again, we call it, if you follow me on Facebook, I called this out a long, several weeks ago before this happened. Evidence has now come in, and in the stores, you guys may see it in your stores, where we said, listen, food stamps is cut, SNAP's cut, all those things have gone away. Now, because of RFK has done what he has done for the better of the American people to improve the food process, remove the dyes, remove the poisons, all the other additives and everything else is in there. A company goes through what's called a retooling process. It's where they have to come in, clean and sterilize everything, and then set up the way they're supposed to. Now everybody says, oh my God, that's a huge thing. No, a lot of these companies are selling their products in other countries and already have the tools and dies and understand what's needed. It's just a matter of implementing it. But it once again, that's going to cost them money to retool everything and make sure that it is done the proper way. But once again, there's a cleaning method, a sterilization method, and it's not like they don't have the technology. So the engineers don't have to work that hard because they're already doing this for other countries. And you're not allowed to have that stuff. A lot of our food isn't even legal in other countries like Europe, and a lot of people don't understand that. But once again, that it comes through. We're going to play this other video that shows you somebody else actually made a video of this, showing this in action. And you're probably seeing it in your stores too, of their liquidating, putting on sale, clearance items of several different things all throughout the aisles. And it's going to get worse as we move forward in our country, in your grocery stores, in your pharmacies, everything else, liquidating all this stuff that they're not supposed to have anymore because they have a certain date that they can't produce this stuff anymore. They'll be fined, it'll become illegal, but the fines are once again very great. So the concept is the government's not going to pay for it. They're going to push that on the American people, because if you really want these items, instead of just saying I'm going to do without them until you change, the forcing the hand of them, you're just going to, we're going to clearance it, you're going to get it, but once it's gone, it's gone. And people are going to load up on a lot of these items and really damage their house. So be an informed shopper when you do this. And once again, you want the proof and everything else, here you go.
Look at all the food prices. Everything is on clearance now. Stop the stamps and watch how cheap everything gets. Look at all the food prices. Everything is on clearance now. Stop the stamps and watch how cheap everything gets.
There it is, guys. That's multiple states reporting that. That's just one of hundreds of videos that I'm seeing, and people are sending stuff to me that are watching and turning around and going, holy crap. It's not hard to predict this stuff. Everybody goes, oh, you've got a crystal ball. No, I don't have a crystal ball. And let me reinstitute the same with the show. And some of you that are watching this show, maybe the show for the first time, especially with a lot of controversy and everything else going on. One, I am an international journalist. And when it comes down to it, there are certain things we can share when we find evidence, this and that. But there's other things with our sources. Under the First Amendment, we are protected as press, not to share our sources or evidence we've seen, only to confirm, to say, yes, this is true. It's a very fine line when it comes to reporting the news, or, once again, calling people out or this or that, to where you turn around and go, listen, I've seen the evidence, but at the same time, that's part of a criminal investigation or an active lawsuit. I can't put that out there. And for people, and this is why we tell you to watch who you follow. Anyone that would ever, due to the fact, especially everybody that knows this about me, and you guys know this, a lot of people that's put up on Facebook and several other things, hey, those credentials are out there, that's out there, the show is covered under those First Amendment rights, under the freedom of press, and the obligations that we have, so on and so forth, for our ethics and so on and so forth. A crime's not been occurred. In other words, we're not concealing a felony or something that would go against the nation. There are very limited exceptions to those rules. But for anyone, let alone advocates or anybody else, to run their mouth or to challenge or want you to violate your ethics obligations or the obligations of press, regardless of what it is, other than saying, if you don't trust what I'm reporting, change the damn channel or go down the rabbit holes yourself. But once again, we've always put that out there. Look for yourself. And there are people that will not listen to facts and truths. And you guys all know this in your own personal experience. No matter what you say there or what evidence you show them, they're not going to believe you. And once again, that's a delusion. That's not reality. There is a difference between the virtual world that we see even on this show, as part of this show is, versus the reality of real life. When you say you know people, you don't know people. You haven't been to their kitchen table. You don't know their dogs or cats, their location, their house, this and that. And there's others that will say, oh, no, I know them. I've been to their house. I've been to here. Here's the evidence. I share meals. I've got pictures of us together at their person's house or at my house. I know this person. Many people are delusional, especially with the internet. And you got to watch this, especially with dealing with advocates that are out there. Be very wary. And this whole platform of the CPS Breaking News Network has done the same thing. When we're reporting this stuff, understand we've done our due diligence. Part of the challenge that I do for other platforms and other shows, especially the ones that I'm able to catch or watch, I put the same thing out there. Make sure you do your due diligence, even though you don't have the press credentials. I encourage you to get the press credentials and follow those particular things, as I do anybody that's on the network. But to make sure that understand, we're here to report the news and we have rules. Okay. We just can't do certain things or something that we have to research it. We have to encourage others to go, once again, do your own homework. We're saying from what we've seen or done, and it's not a bias investigation. I don't believe I look at both sides, technically all three, because as the old saying goes, there's always three sides to every story: his, hers, and the truth. Because a coin has actually three sides, and most people don't realize that. And that's why we bring some of the stories and some of the facts to you guys, with this stuff, to be aware and understand they are planting. Let me put this very, 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 very clear for those of you, especially in the CPS world. CPS has within their budget, within every state, even subcontractors, to pay people under an IT classification or otherwise to go on the internet to infiltrate groups and or individuals or movements to gather information and report them, even as something as small as their show is on this and that. That is still considered a mole. That is giving information to the other side. It was brought to my attention that even there was a project that was up in Minnesota from several people working together, that they had gathered a bunch of people and that CPS had literally jacked the whole movement or the thing that was going on there with attorneys and CPS workers and this and not to benefit the parents, but to make sure that they understood what the parents were doing so they could come up with stuff to come against that or how to battle it. This is devious. Understand, this is a evil organization. This is how bad they're going to go. They're going to send a spy into your camps with a lot of movements and everything else. And the same thing happens even here. We've had to deal with it here at the CPS Breaking News Network. There was an attempt, a time probably, I want to say about a year ago or so on, some certain things had transpired. And there was individuals looking to hijack this particular platform. Once again, that's not up for me to discuss. I believe that the founder of the organization, the CPS Punisher, Tiffin Punisher, is gathering all that, is gathering information on several people and several organizations, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of information, man. We've got people that are doing the same thing too. We've got CPS workers, people, lawyers, other people like that are giving us information. They're moles for us. Well, great. It works both ways. It's not just one side, but they see the evil in everything that's going on. And there's a lot of whistleblowers. You guys have heard stories of whistleblowers coming forward that used to work for CPS in the court system, so on and so forth. And you're seeing it all over the news, and it's becoming more and more and more popular to do that today. But that was just a couple things in our special report that we wanted to cover. Here locally, things are going crazy. One, in our particular case, the magistrate that was in our case has stepped down completely from the county. has tried to go back into the to the private sector. Filings have taken and done them appropriately for the judicial review boards, as well as several other things that we're involved in. Judicial boards have been notified. We're going through the steps of everything, as should you. But make sure you articulate really specific of their crimes and connect the dots for them to understand. Just don't say, well, they just did me wrong. You got to be specific. Quote the codes that they violated, the statutes they violated, the constitutional rights they violated, and explain it. And that's one thing we try to tell you guys to do, especially when all of your filings. Matter of fact, I had somebody as ignorant on one of the posts of going, hey, I did research on you, and there's nothing to do with you and CPS, and there's no such thing or anything with it. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you seriously that foolish to make that statement? Here's our federal case number. We have a federal case. And we also told you, here's the case number, and it's been publicized too for our appellate and to overturn our original case, showing the bias, the corruption of the magistrate and the judge that adhere to our cases and everybody else involved. We're currently working on the criminal charges to go with it. Matter of fact, there was a visit made to the Capitol to speak to the attorney or the state attorney general's office, and spoke with one of the lead investigators. And the lead investigator's like, just get me that on paper so I can move forward and be specific. You know what? We're working on it. These things take time. They're expecting this. They have been articulated verbally, the crime, but we're telling you guys this. We're trying to educate you on this. It's not just about the verbal making a phone call complaint and I wish you investigate. That's local sheriff's office and other things. Bullshit. Put it in writing. Put it, like we tell you with everything else, put it on the court record. Even if you've got an attorney, put it on the court record. Put that evidence in there. Make them look at it. Why? Because even though they don't address it in that court, that gives you firepower for the appellate court. Now, here's another thing that we've gone through and learned. Even though you don't have a final ruling, okay, if you have an active case and the judge isn't doing what they're supposed to, they're doing your rights, so on and so forth, you can file several writs, okay, because you don't have a final decision, because we ran into this in Kentucky. You can file writs. And this was even given to us by the appellate court. Thank God they have somebody in there doing their job and educating people that are even wanting to go pro se, sue juris, or file their own, even though they have attorney. Understand, you do not need an attorney to file an appeal. That is bullshit. No, the appellate court will tell you the same thing. Matter of fact, the closer you get to the state, usually the better off it is. We also discovered that the state of Kentucky is in grave violation of the ADA Act. They have no ADA. They have no compliance officers in their county courthouse, even though they are receiving federal funds to do so. This will now become a whistleblower case on the state of Kentucky, where things are involved. Paperwork has been filed that there's been no ADA, but it has been directed back to the state, and they've done bare minimum. They've even come back on, well, you have to notify us. No, you need to read the ADA. The ADA says that, and Henry deals on this all the time in his show. If you guys don't watch his show, watch it every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, equal and the same on the CPS Breaking News Network. They're required to have it for you there. Do you need this? They're even supposed to come to you. What do you need? Before we proceed, what do you need? Your Honor, I can't hear. You got to have hearing assistance. You have to be evaluated for a lot of that stuff. They're receiving federal funds. Even though they're receiving those federal funds, they're not spending it on what they're supposed to, or they're going to find out that they're doing illegal stuff and diverting those funds towards other things, or finding some joker and paying them a huge amount of money, a huge fund to run the ADA to cover their, and it's more of, here, let me pay you off to cover our tracks to show that we're not doing this. Why? You're required under the ADA that Congress itself has turned around and said, ADA accommodations are to be readily available at every single state courthouse by law, every government institution by law. Guys, listen here. This includes CPS. If CPS, this and that, they need to come up. Do you have any disabilities that maybe we see or we don't see that you need accommodations upon first contact? Listen, guys, you can use the ADA violations, one thing, to do appeals because of non accommodation and a basis for a federal case. You didn't comply. And here's the thing, the burden then becomes upon them. Produce your accountability officer, even in your county thing. We did that. That was done, and it's not there. It doesn't even exist. They referred and defaulted back to the state. That's illegal. That is fraud of a state upon the federal government for funds and misappropriation for funds. Guys, this is huge. And that's what I think a lot of people don't get about Henry's show, that maybe he doesn't articulate every time. Guys, this is used to help you in your cases. ADA is an absolute requirement. And for them to turn around and say, oh, well, you need a doctor, you need this. No, 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 no. I do not. That's against the ADA. We ran into that too. We're going to need doctor's notes. We're going to do this. What does doctor notes have to do with my perception of, even I go into the courtroom, such as other courtrooms, when our last show, we dealt with lighting manipulation. If you dimly do the courtroom to manipulate the courtroom, everybody or anybody, well, I don't have problems seeing. That's called perception. And it's not based off of your perception. You don't get to rule on perception. It has to be what? As the name of Henry's show, equal and the same for everybody. Equal playing field. Federal courtrooms don't have this issue. So if you walk into a courtroom and all the judge is elevated and all the lights are on the judge and the rest of the courtroom is dimly lit, it's not fair. That's not a legal courtroom, because you're manipulating things to benefit a certain side. That's not legal. And once again, that's violation of due process. And it's clear you file it under the ADA. Listen, man, that's about as powerful, especially if you know how to articulate. And Henry will tell you the same thing. It's as powerful as going in and saying, you violated my religion. Do you know how many cases are won off of religious basis? Huge. It's in the highest percentiles of any case being this, that. Why? Because one person can't define your religion. There's a big issue. It's not under your definition or perceived of my religion. It's under what I believe. Now that's huge. But once again, you have to be able to argue it, articulate it, document it, all those different things. And it's not hard to do because the law states it this particular way. And here's the other thing. It's not open for interpretation. ADA is not open for interpretation by the state. It's federal. Did you know you can get your case remanded to a federal court because they won't comply or they don't have ADA? Now you're automatically in a federal court. Bet you guys didn't know that one. There you go. But this is just like I said, on this special edition here, we thought we'd just jump on here, especially it being election day, give you a little bit more information, constitutional laws, so on and so forth. States are not adhering to the law, which is the Constitution and the federal codes. But until people call them out and start filing things, and you're going to watch a lot of filings where cases are won, or I'm not necessarily cases, but elections are won, so on and so forth, that their opponent can take a turn around and file something in federal court, and it has a history of being overturned. Why? Because it wasn't legal. If I've got, 5 million votes coming in, and I only have 2.6 million people as registered voters as required, you got a huge problem. That's called voter fraud. Somebody wasn't doing their job, and that's where they're getting caught in a lot of this stuff. You can't have over the amount of registered voters. It doesn't work that way. And it doesn't matter. And listen, I know some of you are from Canada. or New Zealand or this and that, and it goes to the same rules for what you have on your voting rights. A lot of it is very similar in its codes for voting. You have to have certain requirements to do this. That's called voter fraud. And people are going to federal prison because of the 2020 election, because of other local elections. This is not a joke. You're talking federal time. And listen, you're going to see a lot of other things too. I always laugh because everybody says, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to go to jail. They may go to jail, the local jail, where these lawyers or these judges or anything else. And they may do 1 or 2 years, or they have to spend time in jail because of this and that, and or whatever it may be. And it's not really just, and this and that of where they're at. I said, listen, it depends on the crime. And here's the other thing people don't understand is our prison system. Ask somebody that, I've talked to several hundreds and thousands of people that have been through the prison systems, both federal and state, many states, several states. One thing you're going to learn is you're issued a paper. And when you're issued that paper, one convict will come up to another convict, as they say, and they call the jail guards screws. There's other terms that they'll use too. It doesn't matter how much the screws take to protect you. Your cellmate or your cellie is going to turn around. Let me see your paper. I want to know what the fuck you're in here for. And that gets around. You can't stop the scuttlebutt that happens inside those walls. It gets to the wrong person. They could be in there for 6 months, and you got a guy with a life sentence. And you've seen this happen too. I'm doing a life sentence for killing a man and doing this and that. What's another life? Justice has its funny way of playing itself out. And understanding CPS workers, judges, prison guards, corrupt, and understand all of them corrupt, even law enforcement. They go in there. Listen, they can get got to, or they're put in solitary confinement the entire time they're there. And that's a hell in itself. Of no daylight, no this, no that. They're just locked the fuck down. Because once again, they've only got so much. And that, once again, is up to the warden. A lot of that's up to the warden. They can make requests, but the warden is, once again, there's your monarchy. They have to go by this and that. They'll do what they feel is reasonable. But once again, just because of this and that, everybody says, so they do a little time, they do this and that. Sometimes that system has a way of taking care of itself. And that's just the way it is. And somebody else that's already doing life has no problem doing 2 life sentences. I'll take care of them. They're taking care of pedos that way. That's why they end up coming up with pedo wings within the prison systems. Too many people were dying. I don't feel that's fair. I feel Gen Pop should be for everybody. That's my opinion. Let them go with the criminals with the rest of the criminals. They're on there for a reason. People for the whole or for the whole. My opinion. But once again, the criminal aspect of it, even the criminal aspect of some of those, you've got people that will frame somebody, plant evidence, do this, do that. Any faith in the system? I don't believe any American out there, let alone from other countries, we don't believe and trust our systems no more. And that's one of the things that one of our founding fathers said. When we start to fear our government, that's tyranny. And when you have tyranny, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence is very clear. We're supposed to be removing them and then replacing them and instituting new governments, abolishing all the shit that they've got, making it clean. In other words, returning to the Constitution. And then at the same time, making sure that we pass new laws and implement new things happens again with very strict penalties. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, you guys are on here. I see John from Canada. Debbie's here. I only see so many people that are in here. Some are from, like I said, Facebook. Some are from YouTube. I know you guys that are watching here, Tammy, Debbie, all those others. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on this stuff? I mean, because it's pretty big. I mean, with what's going on, and we're seeing, as we told you from even before the election, and our current sitting president came into office, we called a lot of this thing. They're going to start peeling the onion. They're going to pull it back a little bit at a time. Why? Because we couldn't handle it psychology. We're already seeing our country here in America struggle with what is being peeled back and revealed just in our country now. Constitution, and returning to the Constitution, they've had enough. The corruption's coming out, the money's being cut off. All these understand, if there's no benefit to come to this country illegally and there's no way to take and do this or that, they're just going to leave. Why? Because it becomes so intolerable. It makes it feel like, even though you're surrounded in a wonderful country that we have the possibility of being, it's intolerable for them to live here. It makes it so difficult. It's worse than it's as equal as a third world country. And even some people say, it's better to be homeless in America than in a third world country. You're treated better. That's amazing. But I think you're going to see a lot more in this reporter, in this journalist opinion. You're going to see a lot more pulling back. You're going to see a lot more of the onion coming back. You're going to see a lot more of the cleaning up and the defunding and them crying, we need. At the same time, the abuse of Section 8, the abuse of food stamps, the abuse of this and that. Why? To gain votes. As a matter of fact, the Social Security Act of 1935, Section 4, look under purpose. I want you guys to go look at purpose. The whole purpose is to bring back or push towards the family unit, not ripping it apart to receive funding. The very fact that they're ripping families apart to obtain this funding and considering there's no crime. Why? Well, civil court can do that. No, you're not meeting the criminal standards. Once again, that's why they're going to hate us going into federal court, because we're going to address those and make those case law, because then you're going to have to. It has to meet a criminal standard. You're in the wrong court. You're violating due process by being in the wrong court and letting a judge adjudicate on that. And then we pray they go to appeal it, or even appeal it to SCOTUS and then smack it down, and then do what? Make it national. Because now CPS can't sit there and file stuff in civil court with the low standards. You better hope you have enough for criminal standard. Otherwise, sorry. It's gone. Either meet the criminal standard or don't. And they don't. Because then the severe penalty is for forging evidence, forgery, all these other things that, all these other criminal acts they are doing, perjury, so on and so forth, fabricating evidence, tampering with evidence, this and that, become huge criminal acts in the criminal court. That's why they stay out of the criminal court, because they know the penalties when they're getting caught is extremely severe. Well, guys, I believe that's it for this special report. I want to thank you. Join us again next time at our regularly scheduled program at 9:30 p.m. every Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. We'll pick up where we left off. Hopefully, we're going to have a guest or two that we're going to deal with. John, I did get your email. I will probably be reaching out. Like I say, I have a few things that are going on and forth. I'm hoping to take and bring maybe you on, and I believe, if possible, Mr. Obsidian may be joining us this Sunday. That's right, Mr. Obsidian. That you guys have been out there, guys, full of information, full of knowledge. Like I said, he's involved in several and assisting with several other movements. But like I said, it's and the abuse he receives is crazy up in Michigan. Absolutely ungodly. We'll give you more updates, like I said, as things progress. Like I said, we've got more information. But remember, you don't have to wait till that final decision to go to your appellate courts. You can file your mandamuses, your writs, all your writs and everything else through there. Those can go to the appellate courts, and you don't have to wait for the final judgment and go through those abuse. Once again, even if you got an attorney, I'll bet you your own attorney doesn't know that. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you next week. Or Sunday.
In the United States, CPS makes upwards of $3 billion per day on trafficking and selling our children. The corruption may start with the caseworker, but goes through the judicial system, passing the governor through the Senate and into the White House. The entire system has a hand in the business known as CPS.
Our children are stolen every minute of a 24-hour day. They are being robbed of their innocence, their trust, their happiness. As parents, we are isolated and betrayed by a government we trust. States are balancing budgets on kids' lives. Only 12% of the kids taken will be reunified. Title IV funding is being riveted with fraud.
We need to stop CPS and abolish CPS.com is leading the way. Join us.